Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Hope Filled Fiction blog this week. And I am just really thrilled to introduce you to a new friend that I just met here today. And this is Mary Gautreaux. Hi, Mary.
Yeah, it's so good to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. So glad to have you. I always love meeting new people, especially Christian fiction authors. It's just such a wonderful community of writers. So thanks for being here. And I want to just jump into this time together with you telling us a little bit about you and your family.
Okay, thank you, Dina. It's good to know you. And I'm new at this, relatively new. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here. My name is Mary, and I am very, very blessed to say that my college sweetheart is my husband of almost 34 years. And we live here in a little town called Huntsville, Texas. And if you've ever watched a movie about prison, you've probably seen our town.
Oh,
It's
man.
it's a prison town, which is so
Oh.
interesting, strange, but also full of opportunity for God to do
Mhm.
great things, which he does. But we've lived here. We finished college here. We started school in California, and that's where we met. And we transferred here. He's a Houston native, and that's near here.
Okay.
We've been married almost 34 years. We have two amazing daughters who are both grown and married. One is 30. She just turned 30, which is strange when I'm sure I'm not the only one in this, watching this, being a part of this to realize what it is like to have a 30-year-old baby.
Yes, yes, I understand. I have three children, and my oldest is 41, and
Yeah,
my baby is 35, and then we have one in the middle. I'm just like, how did that happen?
I don't know because time goes by in a blink.
It does. It
But
does.
she's married to her wonderful husband, and they have five children,
Ooh,
all seven and under. And it is a wild, fun
oh my goodness.
all the time. And then our younger daughter is also married, and she calls it their single years, but she means before they have kids,
Mm-hmm.
27. And the wonderful thing is everybody lives in the same town. And my parents and my husband's parents have all gravitated here. So
Nice.
it is wonderful. We have four generations at every family party, and I love it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I only two of my three live near us, and our oldest daughter lives in Texas, actually. She lives in the Dallas area.
All right.
Yeah, we were just there about a week ago.
Okay,
So,
that's about 3 hours from here. We're
okay,
right down the road in Texas speak.
nice. Well, we've talked about our children and life. And when we were children, I know we had hopes and dreams and things that we maybe looked toward. When we
Oh,
grow up, oh, I want to do this. What was that for you?
well, you might not be surprised when I say it with my backdrop here. This
Mhm.
is my favorite room in our house because it is full of books. I wanted to be a librarian.
Okay.
Like, really wanted to be one from the time I was very small. My father was in the Navy. He was a submarine man. So we lived all over the place, on both coasts. And
Mhm.
everywhere we went, we always were a part of a wonderful church, and we always knew where the library was. And from the time I can remember, that's was my dream. And so much so that when I was probably, I'll guess 6, 7, 8, somewhere, my parents for Christmas in a wonderful box with a beautiful wrapping and bow gave me a date stamp.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I put a little card in the back of all my books and checked them out to myself.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I played librarian when I was a kid. I loved going to the library. My mom was all into books and made sure that weekly we were at the library.
That's mine too.
I would come home with a stack of books and read them multiple times and waiting to go back the next week and turn them in and get another stack.
Wasn't that a
Oh,
wonderful?
yes.
I loved it too.
Hmm. Hmm.
I loved it too.
Yeah. So when did you start writing and how did that come about?
Well, I think it was in high school that I transitioned my dream to one of writing the books that go in the library. And I have here a book my mom gave me for Christmas my junior year of high school.
Mhm.
And she inscribed it. Christmas 1987. And it says, Mary, read this and think about what you could write someday. Love, Mom.
Oh.
This is a treasure to me because that was the first time I think, I loved I loved books. I loved reading and
Mm-hmm.
was the kid that bumped into the wall walking down the hall reading a book.
Yeah.
The biggest I got in trouble was at night when I was supposed to be sleeping and was instead reading under
Mm-hmm.
the flashlight.
Yeah.
About this time, high school was when I realized, oh, I love this. I love the process of making the story and, did the typical right things for the school anthology. And then I went to college and became an English major and just love words. I love books so much. I thought someday I'd love to be a part of that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So how did that happen? Like that
Oh,
was some years ago,
a
right?
long time ago. Yes. And I feel, in talking beforehand, I feel like you will understand this, that the dream, I think, was easy to put on the back burner, so to speak, because of the wonderful things that filled my 20s and 30s and even
Mhm.
40s. And that was raising our children and being a part of we were university campus ministers for a long time. And so lots of other people's children in our life all the time,
Yeah.
all those young adults. And all that time I journaled heavily
Mm-hmm.
and sort of experimented with a blog here and there, which I do have a blog that's I think 8 years old this summer,
Okay.
just a devotional kind of thing. But writing never disappeared, but it was on the back burner. And I knew, or at least I hoped and suspected that one day God would let that come to life and be a dream that came true. And it
Mm-hmm.
was. I think it was, well, I won't remember the year, not quite 10 years ago, that a former student from our ministry, her father has a local publishing house in Houston. And they asked me to write a couple of devotionals, which I did and enjoyed tremendously the the walk through the publishing process for taking something from an idea to an actual book that you can hold
Mm-hmm.
in your hand and read was and talk
Yeah.
and wonderful. And I loved it. And it was that time. I'll I hope you don't mind. I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
talk
Go ahead.
about I, my children were grown when the first devotional book came out, but that rewind about 4 or 5 years, I took them when they were teenagers. I think one was probably 14 and one was 11, so preteen, teen. And we had a tremendously literate household. We did the library jaunt every week. We always had books, good books for them to read. But we went to a brick and mortar bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go into the young adult section, which I guess I hadn't done since I was a young adult. And I honestly was mortified. I was angry. Like, what happened here? Like, why is it so dark and depressing and everything was dystopia? That was, I won't name names of books, but that was when a bunch of those series for teenage girls especially came out that were just dark and
Mm-hmm.
dystopian. I was so disappointed and frustrated and we left. We rummaged through the, C.S. Lewis and Tolkien section that was still there and wonderful, but I felt like God challenged me that very day as I was kind of fuming to my husband about how awful the book selection was. I feel like God dropped into my heart that day the idea for the stories that are now out. And it took me a long time to work on them, and they changed radically from the germ of the idea to actual publication. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like God challenged me, do something about it.
Mm. So are you writing then for the young adult audience? Or
Yes. Yes, I have in mind um teenager, really, which I feel like I guess in literature speak is young adult, teen to young adult. But I will tell you that I have personal experience with 9, 10, 11 year olds that have read my stories and loved them. And I tried very hard. It was a good challenge for me to write a story that a younger preteen could enjoy and not be overwhelmed by, but also that would engage an older reader.
Mm-hmm. So before you wrote, how many fiction books now do you have out?
Two. I
Two.
have, it's a part of a series that I hope will be six when it's
Okay.
all, and it's called Bookseller Mysteries.
Okay. Nice. I like that.
It's fun.
Um, so they're like is it kind of like a Nancy Drew type mystery story?
Similar. At first, when the idea first popped into mind, it was honestly that day or even that week of the bookstore visit. I had an idea, go figure, you won't be surprised, of two teenage sisters who are 3 years apart and
Yeah.
have long blonde hair in an old building on the downtown square in our town. So if viewers of this are not from a Texas town, all of our county seats look exactly the same. There's a giant courthouse surrounded by a, a quadrant of shops and restaurants. And our town is like that. And I just love it. I love to go in the antique shops. So from
Hmm.
the time I was a student on, and I've lived here since I was 19, like I've spent many an hour in some of those old buildings, and the story popped in. That's where it takes place in a bookshop on the downtown square.
Nice. And there are a lot of readers out there who love the small town setting. So I think that's perfect. And especially too for mystery. So you had written some devotionals and then God put on your heart to write this fiction series. How did you make that transition to jump? Because it's totally different way of writing. How did you learn how to write a fiction book um, the right way, I guess?
Oh, I think I'm still learning as I go, but the
Yes.
fact that I have devoured, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of books in my time.
Hmm.
I think too that working with young adults for so many years, we worked with college students for 30 plus years.
Hmm.
Being immersed in that kind of beginning of life place, that, and I was an elementary school teacher way back when. So I've always been, I feel like God has gifted me with the ability to communicate to someone who's just learning.
Hmm.
And in fact, that is important to me in my series. These are the books, and they're not. It's not War and Peace. Like I'm not aiming for. Well, I don't exclude the kid that can pick up this that book and devour it in a day. I'm not excluding them, but I'm sort of aiming for a more reluctant reader
Mm.
that might be intimidated by those huge books and not want to engage
Yeah.
because they feel like they'd never finish it.
It sounds like my husband.
There's a lot of people out there like that.
I know when I gave him my book, he's like, It's so thick." I'm like, well, yeah, it's a novel.
It's a big story. And I'll circle back to the Nancy Drew fact. So at first, that was what I was thinking, like just a couple of teenage sisters and their escapades. I love mysteries
I
most of all.
mean,
So
me too.
thinking it would just be a simple, start to finish standalone book. But in the time frame from when I started to write this book, when my oldest daughter was probably 14, like I said, to when it actually came out, when she was, I think, 28,
Mm.
it changed a lot. That my girls always say inspired by mom. It's not actually us, it's inspired by us.
Yes, same with my book.
Right. I remember. But the world changed so much in those 10 years. Like it's hard to even remember when I started, everything was so different.
Hmm.
The internet was still really new to everybody's experience. Smartphones were still relatively new, and we didn't know what it was going to do to a whole generation of young people to be so plugged in. And so in that time between starting and actually publishing the first one and now the second one, I realized God was not asking me to write a simple, just, feel good mystery. It's actually got a very spiritual component.
Mm.
And the family in the story, which two teenage sisters and their parents, it's a we're better together sort of story.
Mm.
And the family itself is having a bit of a spiritual awakening as the series progresses.
Okay, good. So it's going to be one of my questions is how are you incorporating, Christ and hope? Because obviously when you were at that bookstore and you saw those books, I'm sure your spirit and your heart churned and like, we need Jesus, to introduce young people to Jesus and hope. So how do you do that in your stories?
Well, I've had the main characters be they're Christian people, and they do the whole thing. They're a part of a church. I just drop it right in there. It's not about that, but I let it be known that that is their way of life.
Mhm.
But as it goes along, the main character, especially her name's Caroline, and she's 17, and it's set so far, the first two books are set in one summer, which I think is funny, but it
Hmm.
just happened that way. And the next ones she'll age as it goes along. But she is, I feel like what a lot of kids raised in a Christian home are like unaware of how deeply impact impacted they are by their parents' Christian worldview. Like kind of taking some things for granted, like, oh, not everybody thinks the way I think, or not everybody knows God the way I know God, kind of helping her walk through making her faith her own.
Mm.
So that was a real challenge for me to do it in a way that wasn't preachy.
Yeah.
Going from writing a devotional to writing a story that I hope is engaging to Christian and non-Christian kids. I would love so much to well, I'll tell you, one of the delights in my life has been to be able to have a little book table at a bookstore and watch kids come up that I'm no judge, but I'm sort of a fruit inspector and think, I don't think this is a Christian family, and watch them walk away with my book thinking,
Mm.
"Ooh, I want them to think about God after reading these girls and their story
Mhm.
interact."
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, to me, that's the heart behind Christian fiction writers is we want to get the message of hope and Christ and his love and eternal life and, all
Yeah.
the good that we know of into the hands of those who don't know.
Yes, absolutely. And into the hands of as my main audience is Christian kids, young
Mhm.
adults who
Mhm.
maybe have not ever yet had oh, this is for me. All those years of working with college students, that's sort of the kind of the end of the road of every worldview you can imagine. We were on a secular campus, and
Mhm.
you see the fruit of every parenting strategy, every kind of family strategy. You see the fruit of it. And it leaves a bunch of 18 to 22-year olds with the, ooh, what do I do now? And
Mhm.
I'm watching so many of them over the years find their feet with Jesus
Mhm.
just inspired me to aim a little bit younger and try to give some traction to some of our teenagers.
Well, yeah, because these days,
Mm.
the kids out there who are 8, 9, 10, whatever, are a lot older than we were at 8, 9, or 10.
Surely are. They
Yeah.
surely they're
They're,
very world weary.
yes, they've been exposed to so much, social media has changed everything. Has changed everything.
It really has. And I think a lot of parents, well, we're entering the phase where the parents, like for example, my own daughter, they they came of age with the computer. And she did the whole typical mom, I'm the only person in my grade that doesn't have a cell phone. And she
Hmm.
really was. She really was.
Hmm.
She
Yeah.
really was the only one. And then after that, we started to homeschool. So it was okay. But
Mhm.
it's a different world. And I think our generation of parenting and grandparenting didn't know how different it was.
Hmm.
Because, I think I was 29 when I got my first cell phone.
Yeah, I don't even remember how old I was.
Way, way older than now.
Mhm.
We had a whole lot of years and decades even of pre-phone life.
Hmm.
And now kids, there's no memory of pre-phone life.
Right. Yeah. And we live in the dark ages because we didn't have phones.
Yes. Yeah.
So you mentioned your book has this family with two girls. And so obviously that's kind of a parallel to your family.
Yes,
We can't help but put a little bit of ourselves in the stories, right?
it's true.
So are there other things in the first book or the second book that has just come out that are true events in your life or inspired by true things?
Well, broadly speaking, yes. The broadly overarching um, theme of spiritual warfare, yes, is very personal. But any in true fiction style, anything that I've actually walked through personally is so changed into a different scenario that I
Hmm.
don't think anybody but myself would recognize anything.
Yeah.
But one I would like to say one fun thing that I've had a great time exploring is the fact that I'm not even sure what I would call the genre because they live in a bookstore, one of those old downtown buildings, and every night Caroline goes up into her attic, which, today it's going to be 100 degrees in Huntsville, so there's an air conditioner in her attic, but it's a special room that her parents made long ago where she likes to read and she just hangs out, listens to music, and encounters some people from the books that she loves to read. So there's a little bit of a fantasy element to the stories too.
Hmm.
Her her family are her mentors, but so are some of the favorite characters from the books she loves.
Oh, I like that. So, the book that we are promoting on this blog is The Gray Lady of Galveston.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the story and what kind of kid do you think would enjoy this book and why? And what do you want them to take from it when they're finished reading it?
Okay. You don't have to read the first one to read the second one, but this is it. Gray Lady of Galveston. It is set obviously in Galveston. They start in Huntsville and go for the weekend to it's a beach town. It's actually an island in the Gulf, right off the coast of Houston. An old town with a huge old story. I don't know if you have heard of it in your neck of the woods, but it's still a big story here. In 1900, there was a hurricane that essentially decimated the whole island. It was going to be, for a minute, it was the capital of Texas when Texas was a republic. It was kind of on the trajectory to be the New York of the South.
Wow.
And the storm wiped it away. Like 8,000 people died in
Mm,
this, I think. And so there's a little bit of a history mystery to this story. So anyone who loves history, mystery, and a little bit of fantasy and real-time discovery is the kid that would like this book. Caroline and her sister and their cousin who's visiting from Virginia go with their dad to Galveston to track down a missing person, a friend's daughter who's missing. And lots of fun details to wrap up the story.
okay. Sounds good. I'm thinking I have a granddaughter who is 16, and I'm wondering if, because she loves history too.
She
So,
would love the story.
yeah.
That's the fun thing. I've had a good time trying to give books to my friends with kids anywhere in that age. And I've loved hearing the younger set be just fall in love with the characters and see themselves in the characters. In fact, yesterday, a friend of mine who has a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old couple of girls, they sent me a video. And true to form, the older daughter loved the older sister. and the younger daughter loved the younger sister, and they could really relate to the characters.
Mm,
But I also have 15, 16, 17 year olds who've loved the story too. So I feel like God helped me bridge the gap and tell a story that can entertain young or older.
yeah, that's good. So is there an overarching theme, like a spiritual takeaway that is there in the book?
From this book, from the second book, faith is the major theme that I wanted to walk through. And in the first book, Caroline and her sister realize, oh, they thought their parents were just sort of boring bookshop owners, but there's a much bigger story going on. And that's where the name Booksellers comes from.
Okay.
And in this second book, Caroline especially is trying to understand who is in charge of the booksellers. Who in the world could be organizing this thing that's across continents and eliciting help and co-working together from who's in charge of this? And she realizes it's God.
Mm,
God is in charge of the booksellers, and her faith and coming to the idea she has a bit of a crisis realization. I don't know how much I think about God. She's 17 and realizing she's been kind of coasting on her parents' faith all these years
mhm,
and making it her own. So faith.
mm. That's very good. Very good. Well, you said you're hoping a 6 book series. Are you working on the third? When is that coming out? Like what's next?
I finished the draft of the third book, and I hope, well, I hope it will come out a year from now, 18 months from now. That would be my goal, depending on how the first and second books do. If I could generate some steam, I think that would be great. The
Hmm.
third book is going to be, well, I know because I've put the draft down. It's a little bit not darker because I'm not a very dark person. I like hope and I like encouragement in life, but the the characters realize, oh, God is leading the good team, but there's also a bad team, which is introduced a little bit in the second story and really, really shown for what it is in the third story and beyond.
I think I've learned that God's glory and his light shine the brightest in the darkness.
Yes.
So, for us to really see his glory and to see his goodness, we have to kind of delve into that a little bit, the darker side, so that his glory can come through.
Yes. In this second story, in the Gray Lady of Galveston, they are tracking down a missing teenager. And the story, I for all the grandmas or moms listening, I tried to make it very, I'm not scaring the 9-year-olds with the way I told the story, but the older ones will understand more of what I was reading, putting between the lines.
Hmm. Hmm.
They encounter some real life things is what they encounter. But in the end, they're able to, you know, spoiler alert, they find her and she's okay.
Yeah, well, it's Christian fiction, so usually there's a happy ending of some kind, right? It may not be exactly what we want, but uh,
Yes.
there's something good that's coming at the end.
Yes, that's so important to me and
Mhm.
in my own life, encouragement that
Yes.
God gives and the hope that God gives. And that is one of my main concerns in writing these books is to give kids and teenagers of today some hope
Yeah.
and some encouragement and even some tools to navigate this wild world that we live in.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. And it's been so fun meeting you, Mary, and chatting with you about books and libraries and writing and all the things. So thank you for being here and
You
sharing a little bit about yourself and your books. So I believe that we're giving one away on this blog.
wonderful.
Yeah. So anything else you want to say? Where can readers connect with you? You have a website, you're on social media.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been great to be with you, and I'm excited for everyone to be able to, eavesdrop on our talk today. But yes, I have a blog, a devotional blog that I post about once a month too, but also have all kinds of other other things going on all the time. It's my name, which is so difficult to spell, marygautreaux.com. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram also. And I'd love I'd love to see you there. And the best way to engage with the books is that wonderful shopping experience of Amazon. You can
Yes.
order a book and it comes quickly, or the Kindle version is so cheap and
Mhm.
wonderful and instantly accessible. So
Yes. Yes. I love my Kindle.
yes, me too. I love
Yes. Yes. And those who are watching, if you have grandchildren, young children, nieces, or nephews, I guess, but guys and girls.
guys and girls.
Yeah. So make sure you check into these books for them. Maybe a Christmas stocking stuffer might be a good idea for that as we get closer to the holidays. So we're going to sign off for now, but thank you again, Mary. And I wish you well on your future releases.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy to be with you.